And then we will ask for a motion to approve the agenda in a second.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Savage?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Otis?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Item number 4 is our public comment time. This is the time and place for comments for any item other than those that are a public hearing. If you wish to speak, you would have wanted to have contacted the city clerk and given her the card prior to speaking. Do we have any cards?
I
from
do not.
Anyone?
I don't have any,
Okay.
but I did give all of you written comments from 2 different individuals.
Okay. All right, then if we don't have any cards from anybody wishing to speak, I guess we'll move on to item number 5 then, which is consent items. I'll ask for a motion in a second, please,
So moved. Second.
and roll call.
Before we get to that, just since we did have the comment on it, Jamie, could you speak to the value of the people counter system?
She has not seen the comment. You're going to have to help her.
Okay. There was just a question about spending $2,500 on the people counter.
Okay, so yeah, so one of the things that we have to report to the state, like in all of our statistics that go to the state and the federal government, are how many people come into the library each month. And as far as I know, the counter that's there right now, it's a beam counter. It's mounted about 24 inches off the ground. And it counts people as they come in. I've been thinking it's not off or not correct, and I think it's probably been there since the building was built in 2005. So I sat and watched it periodically, and there was one day where we had 20 kids in the room for an activity. Staff had come in that morning, and our door counter was saying there were 9 people. So we are drastically under-reporting. So the item in question, so it's one that's mounted on the ceiling and it catches the heads. So it'll also be catching the kids that are coming in, like that are being carried, because the other one's pretty much just counting a leg as it goes by. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So we had a motion
Mhm.
and a second
Mhm.
and a roll call.
Otis?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Savage?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes.
So moving on to item number 6, then business items, resolution 2024-41, rejecting development bids for 510 South 3rd Street. And Amber, I know you're here tonight as a representative of the committee that we pulled together to take a look at this. And Travis, I understand you're going to help too with any discussion items. Yes, please.
Amber Prignitz, 124 East Bridge Road.
Travis Thornburg, 2727 Southwest Snyder Boulevard, Ankeny.
Hi. First, I'm here on behalf of the 512 3rd Street Committee, and I wanted to thank everyone who served on the committee for their time, those that submitted their proposals. Let's see. We did meet twice as a committee to review the 2 proposals that were submitted. During the first meeting, it became clear that the committee had several substantive questions that were either raised by the proposals that were submitted or that were not clearly answered relative to the proposal or the RFP that was requested by the council and drafted by staff. As a result of that, Chelsea took some extra time to discuss those questions with the 2 proposals or the developers who submitted the 2 proposals. And then we reconvened last week to reevaluate the proposals based on the new information. And it became clear in that discussion that the proposals submitted did not closely enough align with the RFP as provided or as written. And we, in turn, could not then make a recommendation on either one of those proposals. As such, the committee recommendation is to reject both proposals, adjust the RFP, and reissue at a later date. In conjunction with this recommendation, we also suggest 3 actions. 1, begin the process of rezoning the land to C1. It is currently at C1, and having it not zoned properly makes evaluating land value and usage and that sort of thing just more challenging. 2, solicit an official appraisal of the land for the current market value and the appropriate zoning on that. And then 3, to commission a traffic study for that particular lot. We understand that that is atypical and that we do not intend for this to be a new precedent or something to be used as a standard going forward, but that could be used as a piece of an incentive package should the council decide to entertain one of those, or as an offer to a developer does eventually win the bid, as something that they could maybe purchase or something in place of doing their own study. With that,
I think, yeah, I think our takeaway in reviewing the proposals is we're under the impression that the interested developers in the land had a lot of questions, and the proposals reflected that, in that they were either asking for a substantial amount of assistance or offering a low price. So our recommendation is for this council to garner more information and put forth a less question-heavy RFP in the future.
Council? Any questions?
No, I guess questions. Thank you, Amber, in particular, as well, for going through this. I think this is a progression. Obviously, it's disappointing we didn't get the perfect fit, but, you know, try something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, of what you mentioned, I'm more interested in the rezoning piece. I think there's, for anybody else, but, you know, we reflect long-term plan to make commercial development happen along Third, and I still believe that to be important. So we need to update zoning. Makes sense. I'm a little bit leery to spend money traffic study where there's seemingly a lot of variables that could change. But to the larger point of clearing up questions, I do think would streamline finding the right fit. And that's where I'm at with this, whether it's now or, you know, however many years down the road. That's a key spot to a lot of different things. It's a highly visible spot, and I think it's more important to have the right thing there than what's been available. I think this is maybe the 4th time we've had, either from our push or on the reactive side to developer push, and haven't found the right thing. So I think that what this does do is give us a little bit more to have specific discussions about. It's one thing to put this section is commercial, you know, from an academic or hypothetical perspective, but I, at least from my perspective, I'm ready to take the next step and make it a little more actionable. So we appreciate the time. I wish we had something we could all feel good about approving, but if we don't, then I think this is appropriate path.
As you guys consider this recommendation, the committee did discuss extensively which C district to recommend to council. The C1 district is specifically intended to be for areas surrounding the square that have a mixed use nature. So there are single and 2-family residential, as well as apartment style living on 2nd floor and above allowed in the C1 district, as well as several commercial uses that the committee deemed acceptable for a gateway to the square. There are some uses that are restricted out of the C1 district, but generally speaking, a lot of those were something would be more so in a heavily commercial district, not a gateway to the town square situation. So that's why we opted to recommend the C1 district versus the C2 district or a CTS district.
The mixed use was the question I was going to ask about.
So we've talked about the commercial part of it. There were 3 recommendations. Just wondering how the council feels about the other 2. Because what are the price tags? Well, you don't know the price tags on those, Chelsea, they're, appraisal, well, maybe Amy knows.
We're estimating an appraisal fee somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000.
I guess 5.
Okay, so it might be on the higher end. A traffic study would be a little bit higher price than that. I think we estimated around $20,000. So the appraisal might be a good thing to do right away, and maybe we wait until after the next budget year to do the traffic study. But our intent would be to somehow recoup that cost and purchase of the land, or put that as some sort of requirement that the developer has to participate in as part of the RFP. So we had some discussions on that, but those are really rough estimates, and they could fluctuate a little bit here and there.
I think the appraisal is definitely worth our time. The traffic study, as we talked about before, might end up changing depending on what they want to put there, so holding off on that still.
Yeah, I agree. I think traffic study is hard, because there's a lot of variables in how the property could be used, even though we've got some parameters, for how much it would cost, and there's a lot of unknowns there. The appraisal, I think, would be good. I think is our intention to put it right back out for an RFP? Because I would hate to get an appraisal now, so I think yes to an appraisal, but not until the point at which we're ready to really visit this again. We need some time to pass, wait. But if we do an appraisal now, and then we don't want to make the effort to sell it again for another year, then your appraisal is outdated. Another thing, just as I'm thinking of this, first of all, I'm sorry about the tickle in my throat. It's one of those when you try not to cough, then you cough 1,000 times worse than you did, than you would have otherwise. But so my first comment I wanted to say though is thanks to the committee that worked on this for holding true to our word, which is that if we're going to do something with this property, we're going to do something with it that has value to our community. So I know you get stuff in front of you. So good job to the committee that really reevaluated and held true to our commitment, which was if we're going to do something with the property, it's good. So your recommendation was in line, I think, with what we were hoping as an end result. The appraisal piece, and this is for us or whoever is evaluating down the road, the appraisal piece is a little tricky. I do think we should have it. I do think it's a frame of reference. But I do want us to be flexible and not getting really fixated on a number when we go in the future. I think the appraisal would appraise it based on the best use, but if we're going to put parameters and restrictions on the use, then that may create it to have a slightly discounted value to a developer who's going to do something on it. So just something for us, food for thought, that I do think there's value in it, but I don't want us just to get only fixated on that number one.
I think the committee shared that as well, because it's easy to get fixated on what Hy-Vee was bringing to the table. But I think the committee was thinking, well, it's not necessarily going to be apples to apples. It could be apples to oranges. This just gives the council a good idea of what the appraised value of the property is.
So regarding the appraisal, 2 questions is, one, typically how long or valid is appraisal? I know there's a lot of probably variables, but when you get something, generally, is that good for 60 days, a year? Does anybody know?
I would say no longer than a year.
Okay.
Like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Most, if you were working with the federal government, for example, they put a firm date 6 months in, then you're going to have to go out for another. But in an area that hasn't changed, isn't changing very quickly, in a year, I would say you could argue it would be valid for The law requires you to sell it for fair market value. So, you know, some of that's in what he's going to take into consideration are other values of, and probably even what was provided to you in the RFP, that will be taken into consideration. So, you know, depending upon how things are selling, how quickly they're selling around the area, that's going to probably have an impact on how long that appraisal is valid for also.
Okay, then my second question, you started going into it, but from the city's legal responsibility, when it comes to fair market value, if we get appraisal, is that the bottom we can take for it?
Generally, yes.
Okay, so we have no, I think that kind of goes back to Mandy's, right? If we get appraised at a certain amount, that's kind of the bottom, can't.
Yeah, so if you're going to put restrictions on the property, if you're going to rezone it, I think those are all things that need to be communicated to the appraiser as their value. They'll ask those questions. They'll ask whether received an offer for the property within a relatively recent period of time. They'll ask what the zoning is. So we'll need to make sure they understand that you're planning on zoning it. You'll understand if there are parameters, certain things that you're definitely looking for in there. They may want to know that information. So.
Just one more follow-up. Still new. I'm going to play the new card for a long time, Amy. So you'd mentioned that it is our legal responsibility to get fair market value for something. How are we supposed to get fair market value for something if we don't have an appraisal? I'm just asking, is it?
Well, sometimes it's just by receiving an offer. I mean, fair market value is what a willing seller and a willing
Yep.
buyer is ready. It's, you know, how you come to fair market value. So that's one of the factors that comes into one way you can determine whether you're getting fair market value for the property or not. But in appraisal, I mean, that's what their role is to determine based on the factors what a fair market value is also. They take into consideration various things, including offers on the property, previous offers on the property.
So if we put our RFP out and we get back our dream proposal, but they offer us less than what the appraised value is for the actual land, we're hamstrung by that appraisal?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, but it's definitely a consideration. You know, if it comes in at 500,000 and your offer is 50,000, yeah, those are definitely things that you're going to need to take into consideration. If it's close, you know, and there's other things that you think go into the determination of the fair market value that are based on the response to the RFP, you could make it an argument that you're still getting fair market value.
So it's not fixed.
It's not fixed, but it's definitely a consideration.
I'm in no hurry to go after an appraisal. It's only good for so long, and we don't have an appetite to go out for another RFP in the next months. And it's just a few $1,000s, a number on a piece of paper. It's valuable information if we want to forward someone who's willing to purchase the property, but we don't know what that's going to be and what it's going to look like. And after this exercise, we don't have that appetite for what they're offering. There were some good ideas in the proposal, but it wasn't the right fit. I think everyone agrees with that. I think there's a bigger issue here, though, too, just looking at 3rd Street Bridge on the north. As we see development on both sides of us in Johnston Grimes as well as Ankeny, Bridge is going to get busier, 3rd Street's going to get busier. I think looking at this roadway network holistically instead of just piecemealing here a traffic study is not in our best interest. I think we need to be looking at a grander scale. We saw it here last week with STPG funding, 141, 415, community project funding dollars going to those projects. We're going to see an influx of traffic as our communities to the east and west of us are growing. So it's going to be important for us to make sure that we can have adequate traffic flows throughout this roadway network, not just this one development.
So what I'm hearing is that definitely, we should take a look at the zoning there and move forward with that. Yes, okay. The, appraisal, is something, we can do at any time. Yeah. There's no, like, you don't wanna wait, you're not saying wait 6 months to do the appraisal, I don't think, but
I don't see any rush to go after it at this point, after appraisal. If we don't really know what we want here, unless we think we want to sell it this year.
And I may be speaking on the term of the committee, but I think the committee agree that if you're gonna wait 6 months to put the RFP back out, wait 5 months appraisal. Our recommendation didn't have a timeline on it. We just thought before you issue another RFP, you should at least have an idea of the value of that.
That makes sense.
And I think if we were going to get the appraisal, do we need to tighten things up in our RFP? You know, does it have, you know, is it, do we definitely have in mind that it's going to look like this? You know, because the more flexibility we have in our RFP, the harder it is probably to come up with that value. Whereas if we are very specific, you know, which again, maybe we don't want to be, but then it probably creates a little more variable in that price too.
so hold on the appraisal for now, but we'll consider it at another time. That's what I'm hearing. And the third thing about the traffic study is hold on that as well.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Boy, you guys, it's like, okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead then and move forward. Thank you very much, Amber, and Travis as well. Appreciate very much the work of the committee.
Thank you, Travis.
So business item A is resolution 2024-41, rejecting development bids for 510 South 3rd Street. Can I have a motion to approve that, please?
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
and a roll call.
Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
And
Savage.
then the item B, whoop,
You have
Yes.
to do a roll call here.
did we not get through the roll call?
No, we got two more.
My bad.
Savage.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
I'm done.
Well, there you go. Even mayors can jump the gun. Item B, Snyder and Associates, February 2024 engineering services invoicing the amount of $31,645.75. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
and a roll call.
Savage.
Yes.
Walters.
Abstained.
Vogel.
Yes.
Otis.
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny. Moving on to item number 7, Mayor Proclamation. So I, Mayor Steve Carson, urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, dated the 8th day of April 2024, to celebrate Arbor Day 2024. We thank very much all those individuals who work so hard on our trees and things in City to keep our community. So reports and particulars then, we'll begin with staff. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base on City Hall progress. I was asked to give a bit of an update. We received a lot of questions weekly on things set.
So can I just interrupt you for just a second, Cody? I wish you would stand up because I think it's easier for the people in the back of the room to hear you if you're standing up.
Like I said, just trying to give an update. We received questions on the City Hall. Do bi-weekly meetings. Hinkle has expressed that it'll be a very active site here the next couple of months. Just I've been making kind of weekly visits over there to monitor progress. A punch list walkthrough is scheduled for May 13 with Hinkle and City staff. Right now, staff's anticipating occupancy will be issued in June. So, outside specifics, questions.
Thanks for the update. Any other staff members? Sure, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm just gonna share that, so you may have seen, we had, eclipse classes and stuff at the library. So we had about 25 people today at our eclipse watch party on the library lawn. We started last Monday with 500 pair of eclipse glasses, and we ended the day with 3. So we got rid of a lot of stuff at the library today.
I was responsible for taking 2 of the 2 pair.
All right.
Any other staff members? Okay, then we'll move on to city manager. Chelsea,
No, I have nothing, thank you.
anything from the council?
I should have said earlier too, when we were talking about the RFPs, I know, people put time into submitting their proposals, so thank you to those that did submit RFPs. And I think, we've definitely learned from those RFPs as well. So hopefully they will consider resubmitting in the future, and we do appreciate, them coming up with projects that they felt would serve our community.
Good comment, thank you very much, because I know a lot of effort does go into those. Anybody else on council?
I do have an ask. So, last week, we had a meeting on our levy rate. And it was sort of a breaking point for me on our communication. So my ask is that over the next 1-2 very relatively quick time turnaround, we put on the agenda a discussion topic for our handling of public comments. So my frustration stems from, we had a new notice go out, we had a dozen or maybe not a dozen, we had around 8-10 people show up genuinely looking for information on that notice, and I don't think we served those people well. I know I bring this up a lot, and folks that are here meeting after meeting are probably sick of hearing it, but I really disagree with our approach, and I find it a little bit extreme, even in the metro here, and certainly for smaller communities. So, and I also think it was misapplied last week. It wasn't a business item; it was a public hearing, which it states in our rules, this is the time and place for comments other than those that are in a public hearing. We didn't allow questions then. So I would like to see an item on the agenda where we can all weigh in and say, this is how we're going to move forward with comments, so we can hopefully resolve this to some extent and not have I wouldn't make the distinction between levy rate and a budget discussion. I don't see how you can get to a levy rate without the budget, and just don't feel like we're serving the public well with the onerous and restrictive requirements that we have on when and how to.
Okay, thank you. So anything else from council? I don't have anything either. When is the pancake breakfast for the fire station?
May 18th.
May 8th?
18th.
18th, yeah, okay, so that'll be fun. All right, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.